My name is Angel and welcome back to my little corner of the internet. As you see in the title, today we're going to be talking about a drama called Scarlet, Ryeo. It is a historical drama set in the year 949, I think. Might be wrong on that one. For those of you who don't know, the Korean peninsula has an extremely dense history. It goes back like 5,000 years. I took a class on it, and if I can say one thing, as much as I enjoyed that class, covering almost 5,000 years in history in a single semester is insane. But I digress. That's not what we're here for. As per usual, we'll start with our characters. Our main character is a girl whose name I don't remember because for a majority of the show she goes by Haesu, and I'll explain why when we get there. All you need to know right now is this the main character. I will call her Haesu for all intents and purposes because I don't remember her real name. I think it's Kojin, but it doesn't matter because she never uses it. She's in her 20s. She's a cosmetologist. I think she works for a makeup company, actually. I don't remember. And her life is in complete and utter shambles right now. Moving on. The rest of our characters are all of the male characters that are relevant in this show. I don't remember any of their names, so we're gonna call them Princes 1 through 14. Don't worry, you don't have to remember 14 faces, because only like 8 of them are relevant max. We're gonna just do them in order. We have the first prince, the crown prince. He is set to take the throne when their father dies or steps down or whatever, however it works. He's pretty chill. He and Haesu bond over a very specific thing, and up until like towards the end he's pretty unconsequential. He's just vibing. The second prince is dead. Don't know his name, don't know anything about him because he died a long time before the show starts. The third prince, we don't like the third prince. I mean, if you like him, do you, boo? But I might have to question your morals. I don't like the third prince. You shouldn't like the third prince. He's not a good dude. We don't vibe with the third prince. He's annoying from episode 1, basically. Don't like him at all. He makes my skin crawl. Next prince is the fourth prince. He is our black sheep of the family. Both his brothers and many of the people who live in this kingdom call him Wolf Dog. He wears a mask that covers part of his face for reasons we'll get into when I get into plot. He is our tsundere adjacent character, although this one isn't abusive to the main character. See, tsundere can be done decently. He's just emotionally inept, but he doesn't actually verbally or emotionally abuse the main character. He's pretty chill, honestly. 5, 6, and 7 are completely irrelevant. I don't even know if they exist anymore, honestly. The next prince of consequence is the 8th prince. He's supposed to be our, like, likable love interest character. I put likable in quotes because he's decent up until about halfway through, and then I'm like, you see, now you're doing too much and I can't vibe with you like that. He's an iffy dude, that one. Our next prince is the 9th prince. Don't like him either. He's kind of a coward. The 10th prince is a spoiled little brat. I mean, he's not super bad. Like, I don't hate him. He's a little annoying, but I mean, he's honestly just really childish. The next prince is the 13th prince. If I remember correctly, his name is Becca. Why do I remember his name? I'm not going to use it. He's just going to be the 13th prince. We like the 13th prince. He and Haesu get real close. They start kikiing. He's pretty great for pretty much all of the show. Doesn't do anything to make me mad. So the final prince is the 14th prince. He is baby. He's the youngest. He's also pretty unaware of the tensions within his family amongst his siblings. He just wants everyone to get along. It's kind of really sweet. He's doing his best, bro. He's just trying to live. All of the princes are related through their dad. Some of them also have the same mom, but for the most part, a lot of them are half siblings. Anywho, that's all of the characters. On to the plot of this drama. So, the show starts with our lovely main character who is sitting on a dock by a lake and drinking herself into oblivion because she just found out that her boyfriend is cheating on her. She met an old man who passed out in the middle of their conversation, so it's not really of consequence. It just happens. And she notices a kid in the water who starts drowning. His parents aren't paying attention, and initially she's like, it's not my business, it's not my business, it's not my business. And then she looks at the kid and she gets in the water, she saves the kid. Shout out to her. And I'll say, this scene is a little bizarre because as I remember it, it's almost like no one tried to help her out of the water. Now, granted, it might have been that they were trying to help and it just wasn't working out because she gets sucked into the water. Like, it's not just that she stops being able to swim. The water is like pulling her. But the scene as it's shot seems like they grabbed the kid and just said, forget her. Because she's flailing for a second before the water goes sloop and kidnaps her, essentially. But she doesn't die. She doesn't drown. She lands herself in a bathhouse. I don't really know if that's an appropriate way to put it. Basically, it's like this little pool in the palace that the princes use to kiki with each other. She ends up there, right? And she like appears face to face with, I believe, baby prince, the 14th one, who freaks out because there's a chick in their pool. She shouldn't be there. And some lady off to the side is like, psst, 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 before she gets killed. So she runs and she has a short conversation with the woman who saved her, and then, if I remember correctly, something in that conversation informs her that she is in fact traveled back in time, and she passes out because what the hell? After her short little conversation with this lady, she passes out and wakes up in the home of the 8th prince. Because when she goes back in time, I guess she gets yeeted into the body of Hesu. That's why that's what she goes by for most of the show. She gets yeeted into the body of Hesu, who is the cousin of the 8th prince's wife. She wakes up and everyone says that she has amnesia because she doesn't know who Hesu is, obviously. And so the assumption is that when she hit her head, she got slight amnesia, can't remember a lot of things. Soon after she pops up in place, so does the 4th prince. He's like coming into town, I believe in preparation for the coronation ceremony of the 1st prince. There's a scene of him riding through a town. A few people refer to him as Wolf Dog, although the 3rd prince, I think, uses that insult more often than anyone else in the entire show. I told you, the 3rd prince is a prick. He's not a good person. We don't like him. The nickname Wolf Dog comes from a very specific story, but to understand it, we must go back into the childhood of the 4th prince. When he was roughly 4 or 5, his older brother, the 2nd prince, died. And his mom, Ever the Griever, was very distraught over the loss of this kid. His mom is queen, by the way. And after the death of their son, the king decided he was going to take on a second wife for reasons that I don't remember. Obviously some political thing, but doesn't matter. Point is, he said he was going to take on a second wife. The queen was not rocking with it, and she threatened to kill the 4th prince if he decided to take on another wife. The king obviously moved to grab his child and get him out of harm's way. The mom slipped, and the little knife she was holding cut a slash in his face right around here. Honestly, the scar is not as bad as everyone makes it out to be, but he covers it so we don't see it for most of the show. And the big issue with this is that aesthetics are everything, and a marred face cannot be king. And the queen was so upset looking at his face after she screwed it up that they sent him away to serve as a surrogate son to one of their allies who had lost her child and has been having issues bearing another son. But this family that he was supposed to surrogate child for wasn't rocking with him too heavy, and they sent him up to like a mountaintop. I guess they were hoping that wolves would devour him in the night, and he killed all of them. That's where the Wolf Dog nickname comes from. There's a lot of random lore and like stories around how ruthless and cruel and terrible the 4th prince is. He shows up to the palace and the 3rd prince is picking on him, ragging on him heavy. There's a princess. I forgot to mention that. She lives in the palace as well, but the 8th prince has his own compound elsewhere. He has a sister. He has a younger sister. I don't remember her name. We're just gonna call her the princess because she's the only daughter in this entire family. She's annoying. I don't like her. She's really annoying. She's also head over heels in love with the 4th prince, but he is never rocking with it. And she butts heads with Hesu basically from the jump because Hesu doesn't assimilate to olden day living quite as quickly as she probably should have. When the princess catches an attitude, she talks back to her and everyone's like, yo, you can't do that. dummy. The princess doesn't like her because during their first interaction she talked back, and so she just doesn't like her at all. There's a couple other situations where Miss Hesu stands up to the princess and ends up in a little bit of trouble. Anyway, Hesu is living with the 8th prince and his wife because, again, Hesu is the cousin to the wife, so she lives with them. Over time, the 8th prince starts to develop feelings for her. His wife peeps. She ain't mad because apparently she's about to die. She's ill and she does die, but she ain't mad that he's catching feelings. I think she's a little bit hurt, but I think she's resigned to the fact that she's going to die. So she's like, you know what? I don't mind. I would have minded. I would have been hella mad. I ain't even 6 feet under yet, and you already making goo-goo eyes at my baby cousin? Mink, 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 mink. But anyway, before Miss Wife dies, she does talk to Hesu and ask her to like take care of him or something or the other. Hesu ain't really rocking with the 8th prince. I mean, she is a little bit. It's like a genuine love triangle, just a bit, for once. She's like sort of into both of them and can't make a decision for a while. The 8th prince at some point proposes to her, and if I remember correctly, she rejects the proposal. A lot of the show is her figuring out how to live. They do that a lot. I didn't even realize that. These dramas love to like just kind of let us watch the character figure things out with some like minor plots. She meets a man who is like, I don't know, an astronomer or something. He's like one of the royal advisors basically, and he tells them things based on the stars or whatever. Turns out this astronomer guy who like predicts the future for the royal family is the drunken man from the beginning of the show that she was talking to on the dock, and apparently he did the reverse of what she did. He nearly drowned in 940 what, and got sent to the future. Anyway, it doesn't take her very long to start wondering what point in history she's in, because after she realizes the year, she's like, oh, so the current king is the 3rd king of Koryo, and the next one will be the 4th. So she picks it in her brain. She's like, oh, okay, wait, the 4th king did what? The 4th king kills all of his brothers and all of his male relatives so nobody can take the throne from him. That's the lore behind the 4th prince in this show, which I don't think is correct. I remember looking it up. I don't think that's true of the 4th king of Koryo in real life. So she's like, oh, okay, shoot. Which one of these people is going to be the 4th king? And obviously, there's a lot of things that allude to it being the 4th prince, and it is. But for the life of her, she cannot remember who the 4th king is. She can't remember his name or what he looks like or anything. So she's like, well, guess we gonna mystery solve it. When the 8th king's wife dies, I'm jumping around a little bit because, again, most of it is just episodal, her trying to figure out how to live in the past. A lot of minor things happen, but I'm establishing her relationships with some of the brothers, so we're gonna jump a little bit. After the 8th prince's wife dies, she and the 13th prince get really close because the 13th prince was the wife's best friend, and also he was in love with her before she married his brother. But Hesu got pretty close to the wife while she was alive, and I guess she's just super empathetic as well. So the two of them bond over the loss of wife, and that's how the two of them become friends. It's a really cute bonding moment, and then they're like kikiing every once in a while. It's cute. We like to see it. There's a plot for the 13th prince where he basically is walking through town. These guys love to wander around. I don't really know what's up, but he was walking through town and he saw a woman who he thought was attractive, and they had a conversation. Apparently the king, his dad, did something to displace her. She's a princess. Something his dad did displaced her entire village, and so now they're kind of just like trying to live. I don't think she tells him she's a princess right away. She just says that she has a hatred for the king because he did something or the other. She does try to kill the crown prince. I believe this happens at his coronation ceremony, and when the 13th prince finds out, he's not too happy about it. Logically so. I honestly think it ends there. I think he tells her to let go of revenge or something. I don't remember exactly how that plot point concludes. Another side plot that happens, the head of the military guard guy, his daughter is hopelessly in love with the 10th prince. This is the later plot point, but I'm bringing it up now because it's honestly a minor detail that happens. She hopelessly in love with Miss 10th prince, and he is the most childish prince. I'm not gonna lie. For a while, I thought that he was in fact the youngest, and then I learned that if they're ordered by age, then he's not the youngest. That would be the 14th prince, logically. But he acts the most immature of all of them, even though they're technically 2 younger than him. He's also the smallest, but we're gonna call him the brat prince. This girl, who's like the daughter of the general, has been hopelessly in love with him for years. She tells her dad this one day, and the dad has a conversation with the king. Sort of like they're just kind of talking about how childish and immature the 10th prince is. And they're like, maybe we should get him married, and that'll fix it. And the general suggests that he marry his daughter, and the king is like, you know what, I like you, so if that's what your daughter wants, I'll let you have that one. That's cool. I'm rocking with it. The 10th prince ain't rocking with it. He's super duper upset, throws a mega tantrum about it, and Hesu scolds him because it eventually obviously upsets his bride-to-be that he is so adamantly against marrying her. I think he's always been like scared of her because she's stronger than him. He does get married. Hesu also scolds him into doing that. If I remember correctly, she yells at him because he's being a childish, immature little brat. It's a very rough life for her, the bride, because he acts like a brat even after they get married. He refuses to sleep in the same bed with her, and on top of that, he makes her sleep on the floor. He basically refuses to talk to her. He scolds her and yells at her about everything. Eventually, she stops putting up with it, and she scolds him back, and then they get into a sort of mutual relationship. Over time, he starts to care about her because they're married, I guess. I don't really know. And it's never clear whether or not he just didn't want to get married or if it was because it was her. At some point, something happens and she ends up working at the palace. I don't remember why, but she ends up working at the palace, and this is how her relationship with the first prince ends up happening. She's working, I think she's supposed to bring something to him like tea, and he has some sort of skin condition, and she makes some sort of remedy with the ingredients that they have, which helps him. It doesn't fix the issue, like he's still suffering from the condition, but it at least helps for a little while. That's how the two of them bond. That's basically it. She keeps his secret and helps him with whatever like cortisone type cream she makes, because they don't want to tell anybody that he's like unwell, because people then might try to attack the kingdom. So they want to keep it a secret until he can have kids, I think is the plan. Doesn't go that way, but that was the plan. She starts working at the palace, much to the 8th prince's dismay, and because the 8th prince is not rocking with her working there, he asks his dad if he can marry her. And his dad decides that if his sons are that attached to this woman, something must be good about her, so he decides to take her as his own wife, much to the 8th and 4th prince's dismay. She's getting prepared for the wedding by her current boss, who she has a sort of mother-daughter relationship with. The boss is a little bit harder on her than the others because she sees herself in her, and her stubborn attitude got her into some not so great situations. In fact, she fell in love with the king. They had an affair together, and she got pregnant, and she either had a miscarriage or someone poisoned her enough to kill the baby, and because of it she has like stomach problems throughout the entire show. Despite the fact that this happened, and I'm pretty sure the queen knows about it, this woman is still like the current king's personal handmaiden. She like dresses him in the morning and junk, so who knows. But her boss is preparing her for the wedding, and she's like, well, why you gotta strip me down and bathe me for that? And she explains that the wife of the king cannot have any scars on her body or something like that. And in a last ditch effort to stop herself from entering a marriage she doesn't want to be in, she like grabs like a vase, breaks it, and like cuts on her wrist or whatever. It works. The wedding gets called off because, like I said, the wife of the king can have no scars. After this happens, the 8th prince buys her a bracelet because he doesn't like looking at the scar. I don't know what his damage is, but he doesn't like looking at the scar. So he gets her a bracelet. There's a plot where all of them are having like brunch or something together. And there's a lot of people after the throne right now. And I don't really know why they think Jesu's a threat, but they think Jesu's a threat. And if I remember correctly, the 9th prince plotted with one of the women who works with Hesu to somehow have her serve tea to the family during this gathering. She wasn't supposed to. Her boss had like forbade her from going out or something like that. But the girl who was supposed to do it faked that she was like unwell, and they got Haesu to do it. She served the tea, and when they do this, whoever brings the tea is supposed to test it before it's brought to the family. That way, if it's poisoned, she dies first. So it's supposed to discourage people from poisoning them, I guess. She tastes the tea and it's fine. She hands the tea off to the family, and I don't really know how he realizes it, but the fourth prince peeps that it's poisoned, and he wants to toast with one of his other brothers. I believe it's the crown prince that he's toasting with, and he like takes his little teacup and they do the toast. He drank 3 whole cups of it. I don't know if that was necessary for whatever they were doing, but he drank 3 cups of it and then asked to be excused immediately. And then like down the line, like he's walking away or whatever, and then he starts coughing up blood. He has a higher tolerance to poison because he drank it for funsies to build up a tolerance. So he was able to get far enough away from everyone. He had hoped to get to like his room or something so no one would notice, but he didn't make it that far. Someone noticed that he like fell out coughing up blood, and they arrested Haesu for treason because they thought she was poisoning him. And then everyone's confused, and by everyone I really mean her boss, because she wasn't supposed to be serving the tea. She also didn't make the tea. If I remember correctly, the fourth prince breaks her out of prison and tells her to disappear for a while, I think. I don't remember what happens after that. She doesn't die. Somebody starts poisoning the crown prince through his bath water. I think it's the third prince. And it drove him just a little bit insane, not a little bit, a lot. And he was convinced that all of his brothers were going to try and take the throne from him. So I believe he plotted to kill all of them. Didn't work out that way. I believe he tries to kill the 10th prince, and the 10th prince's wife tries to protect him. She ends up dead, and then the 10th prince acts as the 4th prince to kill him so that the first prince doesn't get the satisfaction of having killed him. I don't really know what the point was there, but the 4th prince does it. He also slaughters all of the guards who were trying to arrest the 10th prince and his wife. I don't remember which one of the princes kills the first prince, but ultimately, all of the princes end up dead, primarily at the hands of the 4th prince. And like I said at the beginning, he does indeed become the 4th king of Koryo. And at some point earlier in the show, the 4th prince makes an appearance, and the main character created foundation to cover up his scar, which shocked everyone. And then there was a rainstorm, which had her having weird flashbacks of like blood. Because she keeps having these weird flashbacks as though she's lived through this time period. And I think it's supposed to be reminiscent of her getting the clues to figure out who the 4th king is supposed to be before it's too late. She obviously doesn't find out in time. Or she has her suspicions, but obviously she wouldn't know until everyone gets killed. And she still falls in love with the 4th prince anyway, but he ends up king at the end, and she goes back home. So they don't end up together in the end. Oh yeah. The 8th prince dies sort of separately from the others because he almost wages a war against the 4th prince after the 4th prince is crowned king. And Haesu tries to make him promise that he's not gonna do it, but he does it anyway. He's so spineless, the 8th prince. I'm so mad. He like went ahead and waged this war and then didn't do anything. Coward. Anyway, he died. It doesn't really matter too much. Honestly, this was a very messy retelling of this show because I don't remember a lot of the plots. It was just a lot of subplots that don't come together that well. It's mostly just, hey, she's attached to this character. We're gonna make you attached to all of these characters. There's also a love story happening with the not so happy ending. It's a lot of different subplots that are only strung together by the fact that these guys are all related. But she goes back to the future and tries to live her life as though she didn't go back to the past. Her job is doing a Koryo themed whatever the heck. And so at the end they flash to a painting of the 4th prince standing alone looking at the palace because he does kill all of his brothers and Haesu goes back to the future, so he ends up alone. In real life, the 4th prince was actually pretty good. I don't think he kills all of his brothers in real life, but in case you wanted a little history lesson, the 4th king of Koryo actually created the Korean alphabet, aka Hangul. He pretty much created their written language with the help of a bunch of scholars because he wanted to make it so that more people in his country could be literate. But this has been a very messy retelling of Scarlet Heart Raw. I hope you enjoyed this video. Wait. wait, don't go anywhere. At the end of all of my videos, I ask a question for you to drop an answer to down below in the comment section. This week's question is, I probably should have asked this last week, but what is your thought on the tsundere character? Feel free to drop the answer down below in the comments. If you like this video, go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe. Turn on the little bell so that you never miss one of my posts. I hope to see you guys again. Bye for real.